Right, we're live.
Hola Madrid, this is welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. Big up all of you, for tuning in. As always, big up people in the chat as well who waited. Unfortunately, who had to go away as well. But we had a couple of technical difficulties that was you know unforeseen. We couldn't really predict it was going to happen, but we are here. That's the most important bit. Big up people for you know always trying to catch us, no matter how late it is. I know it's kind of super late, especially in Europe. It's what, like 12:30 already. So yeah, big up people for tuning in later on as well. Like I always say, the YouTube family is a part of the whole LPR community, but um the audio community, the listeners that we have on Spotify, on Apple, also play a massive role in making us feel like what we do is worth it. So yeah, man, big up every single one of you. As always, big up our sponsors, LBI20, to get 20% off on Manscaped. Go check them out. Go check out Fanatics, probably the biggest sports apparel collection online. Official partners of Madrid and La Liga. Big up Talksport Fan Network as well. LBR and everything. LBR is powered by the Talksport Fan Network, probably the biggest sports radio station in the world, powered by the fans. So, talk to me, Sahil. Quarterfinal settings, Leganes. This was kind of a precursor for what was to follow during the first, at least the first half of Feb. Um, City and Atleti around the corner. Uh, Way too many, equations to solve for a team that was already struggling um, to start the season. We kind of slowly started to find our footing, and then started losing players. By the numbers, week in week out. We are basically bare bones now. But I think tonight, it was a stern test, but we got the job done. We never make it easy for ourselves, do we, Sai?
Yeah, no, I mean, Leganes away in itself would have been a straightforward enough fixture because we've done well over there in the recent past.
Hmm.
Um, but the context of this being that it was a Copa del Rey quarterfinal, and struggled. We have struggled against teams even lower than Leganes. We've struggled
Yeah.
against second and third division teams in the Copa del Rey, so it wouldn't have been it wasn't very uncharacteristic of Real Madrid to make that look like a lot tougher than it was.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, we got the job done, and I mean, I think the priority must have been to come out of the game without any further injuries at the back, which
Yeah.
we did. Now we just have to hope for the best at the weekend.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
We would get to know our semi-finalists, on Wednesday. That's what I read, and
Right.
another derby is on the horizon as well. Probably meeting Barcelona. Two legs. How is that gonna pan out? Especially Carlo. He would be dreading that tie more than anyone. Let's be honest. But I think there should be some sort of um, a vindication, especially for the faith the club has shown in him. The fans, the fans you know who haven't really turned on him yet. The faith has to be repaid back, and a Barcelona in the semifinals, a Clasico semi-final matchup wouldn't really hurt, right? Like it's gonna,
Yeah.
like, if we actually come out on top, it's gonna really do our season wonders. Um, but yeah, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Like we should definitely get to the goals. Like I don't know if we should really go through some of the um bits that I thought we could really benefit from talking about, especially given the fact that Rudiger's out. He's going to be out for nearly a month. He's going to be missing out the City ties, the derby. He probably might be missing Girona as well on the back end of February. Um, my question is, Jacobo Ramon, like he has had a reputation as being someone solid, as being, probably having a higher ceiling compared to Raul Asensio. We shouldn't forget that Raul Asensio was a rotational option for Castilla. He wasn't really touted to be playing week in week out for us. Like I read the stat that apparently he has had more minutes than the likes of Jesse Rodriguez back in the day and Morata when he broke through. Um, so my question is, like, can we trust these guys to really carry us, unscathed, probably in a Champions League tie? Frankly, for me, on evidence of tonight, I don't think so. So they are not ready yet, in my opinion.
We'll know, and yes, because that's a completely different game, and
Mm,
you things can turn out completely differently. But again, in just the way Leganes went about their game plan, it was
mm,
clear and obvious that that was the part of the pitch that they decided to target. And why
yeah.
wouldn't you? Because you're missing out two or three very, very strong players in that position.
Mm,
And now you've got two players who aren't quite sure of where they stand in this team. They might be extremely experienced with the Castilla, but have they played enough with the first team to really know, where they stand in this equation? Because each of them, I think, um, is in a different mentality. Jacobo Roman, especially, I know you mentioned that he has a lot more minutes under his belt with the Castilla than Raul Asensio, but in
yeah.
this particular equation, I think Raul Asensio stands a bit higher than him because he has been in and around the first team for the past 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
So I would still consider him higher because of how much he's been playing with the first team. And Jacobo he's only played against Salzburg and now today.
Yeah.
So I mean he might have a higher ceiling and all of that, but on this particular given day, even against Atleti and City, and whenever they have to do the job together for the next couple of months,
Mm,
uh, they will have to work as a team, and regardless, like it's not two individuals playing. And I
yeah.
think Leganes really tried to exploit that because they tried to isolate both of them, and it worked to an
Mm,
extent where there was a lot of gaps between these two players where they're spreading. They're trying to almost spread the team out to play the ball out from the back, but then when
yeah.
Leganes counter and win the ball back, they're too far apart from each other, and that's where
And
Chouameni comes in. He has to fill the gap in between those two, and I think Chouameni did quite well for himself today,
uh,
commandeering between those two central defenders.
just focusing on Jacobo, and we'll get to Germany in a second, but
Yeah.
Jacobo and Raul Asensio, like what I kind of felt watching them is the fact that it's clearly like I'm not like we, especially me, like I don't get to watch Castilla week in week out, so I'm not really aware about the dynamics exactly, but I'm pretty sure just by watching them for the first time in the first team, it literally looks like they're playing together for the first time, and there were so many aspects of the dynamic between the two that isn't going to bode well for us, given the stakes, especially in a Champions League night, right? Um, the amount of times where Jacobo was like, "Oh yeah, Asensio don't really have it covered, so I have to kind of lunge in." That's what resulted in the handball,
Yeah, and he
right?
ends up forcing the matter, I think, Jacobo,
Yeah,
especially with things like the penalty that we gave away. Like he doesn't need to do that, but it's almost because the other player is out of position, then he feels the need to lunge in.
mm,
And there were a couple other moments like that as well, and you can see the nerves in his body language. I don't think Raul
mm,
Asensio had quite the same
yeah,
uh, thing when he came about in his first
yeah,
appearance. Uh, but I think the thing with Raul Asensio is that he is used to someone being on the other side and taking charge, which usually
yeah,
was Rudy. So now that he's the one being asked to take control of that central defense, I don't think he has a problem doing that. I just think it'll take him a couple a couple of games to fit into that role. You really realize that he is now the
Yeah.
leader of his defense in the absence of Rudiger.
Mm,
Uh, but the problem is we don't have a couple of games for him to settle in. We have City and
yeah.
Athletic, so that's best of luck to him, man.
And also the fact that Jacobo, like, or Jacobo, like, pardon me, guys, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's gonna take a bit of time. But like I know for a fact that given the products that he has been getting at Fabrica, like there is a
Yeah,
bright future for him. I do see very good signs, a very good centre back in him, especially the way he, sneakily drops his shoulder to beat a couple of men and play passes out wide. He has some uh qualities that I've seen in upcoming centre backs before. How he's pretty effortless on the ball.
yeah,
Stuff like being over aggressive on a press and trying to anticipate someone turn in before they even do is naivety. It is to be expected. It is to be uh, taken with a lot of patience, especially this season, given the fact that we have had probably the biggest injury crisis we have seen for the last 3 or 4 years. We thought last year was the nail in the coffin. This year seems to have completely gone off the rails, given what we are being faced with in the schedule as well. Like, now that I read on Twitter, if we actually beat City, we'll be completely playing 3 days, every 3 days up until the international break somewhere mid-March. So it doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well for the club. It doesn't bode well for these youngsters who are trying to make a mark, leave a mark. They don't really have the time, like you said, to settle in or to pace
exactly.
themselves.
Exactly. So I
um
wouldn't want to be either Raul Asensio or Jacobo, especially Jacobo coming into this team
mm,
now
mm,
because
yeah,
it's make or break for him. And even if he does well, he could still just go back to Castilla next season. Even then, he isn't guaranteed, a spot in the first team. Neither is Raul Asensio, honestly.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that's just harsh reality.
If we actually sign someone, who
Yeah,
has top tier experience, these guys would be looking at the wrong end of the barrel. Um, but I do believe, these two guys, especially given the fact that getting someone quality, if not for our usual tactics of waiting for someone's contract to kind of wind down and then poach them, it isn't
yeah,
going to be straightforward. It's going to fetch big bucks, and I don't think we'll be really keen to do that. So these guys, they have a role to play, 100%. But yeah, Jacobo, nerves, it's expected. But Fede Valverde, quickly, Sahil. I know we only have like 20 minutes, 20 odd minutes left. We have a limit on the thing for tonight. People, apologies if if you guys feel this is you know out of the norm, an extremely short episode, but bear with us. But Sahil, Fede Valverde right back, right? Ancelotti in the post match, he was like, oh, the Fede Chouameni situation, they would need to reassess ahead of the derby. Um,
yeah,
you were here, I was here, on many occasions, when we have seen Fede play right back, it is much more of a solid solution, right, to
yeah.
what Vasquez can't really provide for us, right? Like, Fede can do the job. He has played that before, under Zidane and whatnot. Um, but what would be your, ideal scenario be against Atleti? We do miss a lot of engine and what,
We do, but
Fede
he
brings to the
still
midfield equation.
manages to contribute a good portion of that in midfield, even from right back.
Yeah.
And I don't mind losing out on that when we have other players like Bellingham and now that Kamavinga's back as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys running the engine now.
Mm-hmm.
With Ceballos in this kind of form as well, I would more than trust our midfield to do well against those guys because I don't want to see Lucas Vazquez start right back against either Atleti, especially against Man City with the kind
Mm-hmm.
of defensive frailties that come along with Lucas Vazquez in the side.
Yeah.
Running back the other way from, after prolonged periods of possession, I would not want Lucas Vazquez running back. So I just do not think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And come match day, I still feel like it will not, be a good idea to play Vasquez again. So
I,
Fede
I
Valverde, I
completely
think
agree.
he was because of his versatility.
Yeah.
He was also one of the names being thrown about when Rudiger got injured for centre back. I do
Hmm.
not think that's a viable solution because we still have two, positionally, adept centre backs, even though they're academy graduates and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you can
And
still
centre back
put
is such
them.
a key position. You can't
Yeah,
trust
and you
someone.
can't you can't just put someone there out of position then. Uh, but if you had to, then I would rather have Mendy there than Valverde
Mm.
at centre back.
I think the Ferre rumors at centre back is utterly baseless.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I do think. But Mendy, I think Ancelotti will also consider come Man City, I guess.
I'm not so sure. Like I know we have talked about Mendy at centre back, but if Mendy at centre back was ever in these guys' plans, they would have already thrown him. I mean, the
Already, yeah.
situation has gotten so dire that Mendy at centre back would have been a no-brainer by now. But it
Yeah,
hasn't
but
happened.
it really does depend on Jacobo's performance in the next
Mm.
game.
I don't think he's going to start. I think he's going to go back to Chouameni. Vasquez had a slight knock. That's why he didn't really get to start or
Okay.
play. That's what Ancelotti said in the post match. So if we are going by the trend that we are used to, Vasquez is back in the lineup, and then alongside Chouameni on Saturday. May God help us, right? But yeah, Jacobo as well. He isn't ready. Let's be honest. But
Yeah.
like against like if we had like at least a month, 3-4 games to kind of bed him in, he would have been a huge asset going into a City game. But yeah, what can we do, right?
Those are-
Um, let's talk about the highlights then. Rodrigo, he is in the form of his life. Down the left, it's basically guaranteed, right? Guaranteed box office when he's on the left. He didn't have his usual, uh, wizardry, basically, weaving past players and whatnot. But the one telling action that he had, set up Luka Modric.
And the second goal as well was set up as a result of Rodrigo cutting in.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you could say that as well. You could say that. Um, but yeah, this isn't the opposition that we would necessarily judge him against. But compared to Vinny, he did his job, right? I mean, Vinny had a lot more. Uh, he had a lot more, real worthy stuff, but it didn't really end up being, consequential. Um,
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. When we came in at a stage in
yeah,
the game we needed sort of a killer goal
yeah,
to put the game to bed, but we couldn't really get that. And I don't think Vinny was in any sort of mentality to get that goal. I think he was very casual in his in
mm,
the way he was going about his thing.
yeah,
Uh, so I don't think it was a good idea to put him back on. Like you could have let Rodrigo continue and give him more minutes on the left flank, but I guess
yeah,
Ancelotti sees it differently now. Uh, but yeah, Rodrigo just continues to perform when he plays out on that left hand side, and I mean, good for him, I guess, that when he isn't getting as many usual minutes, he's being rested a lot more, he's being suspended a lot more, uh, which is not good for Real Madrid as a whole. But
yeah,
I guess something's got to give, right? Like we all know that when the big games come around, Vinny's going to be starting. But it's always good to know that if Winnie's out of action for one reason or another,
yeah.
fingers crossed. So we have a more than capable left winger who can. I mean, we already know that with Mbappe, but obviously Rodrigo also can contribute with goals and assists.
Luka Modric, the take on the run, basically setting himself up for the goal.
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
the, the first touch is basically what lets him finish it with a plump. Um,
And then he just
he
toe pokes
just
it.
what was that? Yeah, toe pokes it.
Just toe pokes it into the net. Yeah,
Outside of the boot.
street football stuff. Close control and then yeah, just toe pokes it into the net. And it
hundred
makes it
percent.
look so easy.
Yeah,
Like even
it is not.
even
It is not.
it is
It's
not
no way
easy.
easy.
Even on the second goal, the interplay between Brahim and
Fede.
yeah, Brahim and Fede. Just yeah, it makes it look like the Leganes defenders are just standing, stagnant in their positions, which they
Yeah.
weren't. But the interplay was so smooth and so delightful. So yeah, I think Brahim also did well for himself today.
Brahim actually had a lot of line breaking runs, like the
Yeah,
way he kind of, shielded the ball. It's an underrated asset to have, especially someone who is so well adept in possession that you can just give him the ball and trust him with, doing something that is gonna
absolutely.
basically, yeah, open open pathways, pull players out of position, because once Brahim starts running at you, people are basically on high alert. And yeah, too bad Endrick couldn't finish his dinner. If you remember in the opening, 10, 15 minutes, the reverse pass that he gave to Endrick, the shot
Mhm.
basically was a lot tamer than he expected it to be. It was with his
Yeah,
weak foot. Endrick,
yeah,
he kind of slammed it onto the floor.
yeah.
But
That is
yeah,
true. And then
mm,
I do have a feeling that Endrick uh, is still playing a very individualistic type of game. I don't know if it comes from a lack of minutes for him with the first team, but like even Arda doesn't play that much. But when he does play, he feels like a part of the team. Hendrik is just waiting for an opportunity to pop up in the box and to pounce it. I don't know if that's the way he's being instructed to go about his business,
yeah,
uh, but I feel like he does very little apart from what he is in the box. Like I'm not even
yeah,
talking about interplay or coming deep at to play as a false. I'm not asking him to do that, but
mm,
even off the ball, I see him as a very lazy player sometimes.
yeah,
And we all know that the kind of talent that he possesses is still very raw and very untamed.
yeah.
Uh, but I still feel like he has a lot more to give than what he is right now. Like consistently throughout 90 minutes, because he has one or two moments where he shows up and he might end up on the score sheet,
Mm.
with the kind of talent, with the kind of ability that he brings to the team, he can offer a lot more to the unit, right?
We have what, like 10 minutes or so, right, Sahil?
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, quickly, like I'll add my bit to Enric. I completely agree with you. Like he looks very one-dimensional. Like whether
yeah.
it like is a result of him not, having enough minutes for him to, um, like settle in
Jalen,
and
yeah,
yeah, gel in and basically, play to what the team needs, or he's just acting like, how you are when you're 18. Like he would be of the idea, like I'm pretty sure, like you hear a lot of stuff online, or from your friends or from your peers, like when you're being deployed at striker at Madrid, when you're signed for the big bucks, you're basically expected to bang the goals in.
correct.
And he would have probably heard that, like, this is my theory. Yeah, this is my theory. I'm trying to kind of understand a young prodigy trying to earn his money, right? When someone tells you, or the usual narrative online, or on the local papers and whatnot,
Correct.
um, strikers, they are meant to be selfish. Good strikers, they don't look for an option B. They see an option A, they go for it. And I do think Sahil, Endrick has completely bought into that idea and is trying to overdo it, because the amount of
Yeah,
times he just lets one off from a range where, unless you're
well, yeah, it's
Cristiano,
very uncalled for
you know,
sometimes.
or
He
Fede,
has no reason to shoot from that kind of distance. It calls for like desperation when we're 1-0 down or something, we're chasing the game.
yeah,
But 0-0 in the 22nd minute, you don't need to shoot from 30 yards, man.
yeah. I
And
mean,
he's
Arda
still being a
completely
good
lost it.
striker. I think with the kind of talent Endrick has, he doesn't need to be a good striker. He has to be a great one.
Mm,
So
yeah.
he has to aim higher than that. For me,
Arda Güler completely lost it, when he actually did that. Like
hmm,
Arda Güler, he was visibly dejected.
and
Um,
rightly so.
yeah,
He might be one of the shy ones, Arda, but he is expressive on the pitch.
100%. Arda, he could have, like, he had that one amazing through ball to Vinny, which Vinny kind of did the most he could. Was saved, but no, was it saved, or did it hit the post? I can't remember, but apart from that, Arda couldn't really get into the game much. He had a couple of bright moments in the opening 10 minutes or so, but after that, yeah, he was everywhere. Right wing, inverted, deeper.
Yeah,
Sometimes in the 10, but yeah, he couldn't really impress much. Um, but yeah, moving on from Endrick, Goller, I think we should talk about Gonzalo Garcia. I mean, before we move on from Endrick, the finish, I mean, you have to be there. That is,
yeah, absolutely,
literally being fox in the box.
absolutely.
You can't teach that. You just have to be there,
And then the
and in
reaction time is
anticipation.
the
Yeah.
reaction time is fucking quick, man. Like
Mm,
I know the replays are a bit sped up, but you watch them real time, and the difference in time between when the defender deflects it off and
yeah.
where Hendrik is in that moment and where he reaches to put that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
through the keeper's legs is phenomenal. So you have to be there undoubtedly, and I've never doubted that side of Hendrik's game. It's just
Yeah.
what he offers outside of that. I don't want him to
100%.
become another, Marco Asensio type of talent who can offer us 1 or 2 goals a game and nothing outside of that.
100%.
Eventually, the goals
100%.
will dry up.
100%. I'll add something to this. I've always been of the impression and the opinion that Hendrik is going to be an excellent second forward, second striker,
Okay.
or he'll develop into a cam that who's kind of a false cam. Like I'm not sure if that is even a position that is set in stone, but someone who
Yeah, like
relies on scoring from the cam position, right? Who isn't really a playmaker, but who is kind of a false striker, basically false
makes sense.
nine. Yeah, you could say false nine. Yeah, um, but he wouldn't have the passing range of a false nine. Like that's the thing that I kind of imagine Endrick will be molded into, because he doesn't have the aerial strength. Like if you remember,
Right,
Sahil,
right,
the chance that he missed from like what, 2 yards,
right.
he was pretty disappointed in himself, let's be honest. And the game basically was crying out for someone of of a Hoselu variant, and
True that.
there were crosses going in with basically no one to be aimed at. So yeah, let's see how Endrick's evolution comes about. But moving on, Gonzalo Garcia, Sahil. I'm not so sure how 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 much you have kept tabs on this kid, but I have,
Not much.
right. I haven't, like, I'll be honest, I haven't been tuning into every Castilla match, but when we got to the semis of the playoffs a couple of years back and whatnot, um, Gonzalo Garcia, like, whenever I've seen him, yeah, he doesn't look like the most lethal striker or the most elite striker with the finest, first touch among his peers or anything like it. That's why he doesn't have the hype he probably deserves. But I do think he is gonna be, if used correctly, he is the sort of plan B we need for someone who is only 6 foot. Oh, I do think he is exceptional in the air, and I've always felt like he is that guy. You put a good ball into the box, he's gonna be there. He's gonna break his neck to get to it and bury it. Um, and he isn't like Alvaro, who basically is kind of one note. Gonzalo Garcia
Right.
can play off players, can run down the channels. Um, he is a pretty good, decent striker. I think he has been having some good numbers in the Castilla as well as of late. But talk to me, Mensail. That is basically a dream come true, a winner in the quarterfinals.
Oh yes, and people are gonna remember him for that.
Mm,
Um, we speak about the other talents who've graduated from the academy. They don't have as many memorable, moments, and people are
yeah,
gonna remember things like this. So, regardless of the talent that he possesses, and I have no doubt about that,
yeah,
uh, he might continue to get these chances under Ancelotti as long as we're still playing these Copa del Rey games. But outside of that, it's really slim. He
mm,
might get in the squad, here and there, but
yeah,
yeah, it's tough out there. But with the academy, he'll have to, really, because like you said, he's still very raw talent. but he will have to polish his game, and then when he can show what he has for the first team,
Yeah.
that's a good platform to come out and display that.
I hope the management and these guys, they don't compare Endrick and Gonzalo. These guys have a different profile.
Yeah,
We
one
might
is
benefit from
the
both.
60 million signing, and the other guy, I don't think
Yeah.
logically you can.
But there'll
But
be pressure. That there is a reason why Endrick starts. I mean, he has a good record in games that is being done and dusted. But has
correct,
Endrick? Yeah, like he did save us against Celta, you could say. I mean, that is
true.
one big game that he had. But apart from that, can you say that Endrick's goal have amounted to much? I don't think so. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's a
But
different conversation. But let's judge Gonzalo Garcia for what he is, and for now, he's just scored an incredible, last ditch goal.
90
Clutch,
plus 3 winner. you know,
clutch. So he has clearly
yeah,
has that something in him.
100%, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I've always thought of him as a character, as some sort of a quiet
Yep.
leader. Um, he
Yep.
he he looks to have that Madridismo in him, so I hope he gets rewarded for this, man. I really hope. I really hope people who broke through, if they had a good, you know, couple of decisive actions, I hope the management and people watching, they really give them, the gift
The
of
kind of
basically trusting
confidence
in them.
that they
Yeah,
need, even with the
yeah,
media.
yeah. Media is like he's gonna be adored tomorrow morning when he wakes up. It's gonna be all about him. But yeah, it's on Carlo. Like I
Yeah, but
hope.
it doesn't have to be good necessarily, because that kind of thing can get to your head as an academy player.
Well, like I'm pretty sure his expectations are going to be super low because of the likes of
Right.
Endrick,
Right.
rotting the bench, because of the likes of Guller rotting the bench for ages. But yeah,
Right.
I guess that's pretty
We'll go
much
through
it.
some of the comments before winding up.
100%, 100%. Let me quickly mention this as well. Endrick averages a goal every 65 minutes this season. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, big up. Mosi was mentioning Vamos Equipo. What a way to get your first Real Madrid goal. 100%. He has waited a long time. He has bided his time, and yeah, super happy for Gonzalo Garcia, man. One of our own. One of our own. Big up Ashik was mentioning Academy Boy scores, and Carlo will finally reward an Academy Boy by sending him back to Castilla. We are going to get our ass handed to us by Atleti, Chouameni at centre back. You know, that's the script. It's going to happen. Um, Ashik was like in the second goal, Chouameni loses his man and then doesn't even track him. Not sure where the fuck he was going. It's constant with Chouameni. I don't think he's to be blamed a lot, but yeah, that goal was completely calamitous um, sequence of play for us. But yeah, Chouameni has always been blamed for being nonchalant when he defends. But yeah, she was like made in Fabrica and sent back to Castilla, Carleto's way. I just hope this is an eye opener. I said the same thing about Alvaro maybe a couple of years ago, and nothing much has changed. So I don't think they're gonna be getting minutes
That's the guy
unless
who
we
scored
have.
against Atleti, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right, I
The
remember.
equalizer
Completely
at home.
disappeared, yeah.
Mm. But he fell off. His performances fell off. He suffered
I see, I see.
an injury that kind of
And there have been many down the years. Even today, there was one,
mm.
Oscar Rodriguez. I remember he used to play for us, set piece specialist.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oscar Rodriguez, I remember him, 100%. He had a good free kick that Lunin had to palm it away. Remember in the first 10,
Yep,
15
yep.
minutes or something. Mm. But yeah, Ashik was also mentioning Classica semi-final. Um, I won't read that out, Ashik. No way. Right. He was also mentioning Jacob and the rest of the academy players are the
Right, so
victim
maybe
of being
we've got like less than a minute. No, we've got 4 minutes, I think.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 minutes.
Jacob and the rest of the academy players are the victim of being thrown in when we have no choice and are under pressure. Now we can complain about them lacking experience. 100%. Yeah, Asha was also mentioning best thing Hendrik did was ball watching on two occasions when he should have attacked the net. Yeah, like we'll have to give him time. Like he is a very raw player. Like I do think it's similar to how Vinicius was. Remember, like I mean, Hendrik compared to Vinicius, man, he is a couple of levels above. I mean, Vinicius has had a lot more to his overall game, and but lacked the finishing touch. Hendrik
Yeah.
looks the exact opposite, like how a striker would be. His overall game is yeah, Z tier at this moment. But yeah, Marcus, big up Marcus. He was mentioning any top class coach would be glad to have this Madrid team with the great reserve team of youngsters who are promising. Carlo have no excuses to not make this team great, and he wouldn't. I'm gonna back him and say again that he's gonna be winning one major honor, and I'm not talking about the Mickey Mouse Copa del Rey. I'm talking about either the Liga or the Champions League. So fingers crossed. We back the team. I back the team. I back the manager. They have done their bits over the years. But yeah, man, big up our sponsors as always. Go check them out. LBI 20% off. Manscaped, you know the drill. Go show some love to Talksport Fan Network. Um, Probably the biggest sports radio station in the world. Go show some love to Fanatics as well. Official sponsors of La Liga in Madrid. We'll be back probably Friday for the El Derby preview. Big fixture. We need to win it. 1 point separating, Atleti and us headed into match day 23. I believe, just 15 match days away from, the finale. So I just hope, we do what's required of us and, extend the gap to 4 points. And that is a massive incentive out of City as well. Busy week. Steve will be back, hopefully Sunday, I think. So keep your eyes peeled for that too. Yeah, it's gonna be February frenzy for sure. But yeah, people, until next time. Ala Madrid.
Hala Madrid, guys. Okay, so that was 30.